Okay, so today Lauren and I are going to speak a bit about um, the quantifiable costs of actually living with emetophobia every year. So Lauren is going to highlight her personal journey of
Mm.
being an ex-emetophobe and now being a very successful coach who overcame emetophobia. And we're going to just kind of break down what people are usually unknowingly paying every single year just to live with their phobia. Um, so with that, Lauren, you want to just tell us what, maybe tell us what your experience was with this whole area?
Yeah, I'm really excited to get into this, and I'm really excited to talk about this chart that you've made because I can absolutely verify that it's probably more conservative than realistic for it depends on where you live. There's a lot of things that it's going to depend on. Insurance level, like your socioeconomic status, things like that. But overall, like you're saying, emetophobes do not understand the cost of keeping emetophobia, both financially, emotionally. But today we're going to focus on specifically some of the finances that you're going to bring out. Not just like gum and mints, but bigger things like therapy. So I can definitely relate to this. I had it for 30, I think 30 years, maybe a little bit less, but definitely took a toll, especially on my wallet. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, all right, awesome. So when you were living with the metaphobia, so did you ever actually take the time to stop and think about how much money you might be spending every year on the phobia?
No, not at all. You are living in with a emetophobia brain, emetophobia lenses. You just think that's you. It's very normalized. You're in survival mode and you're just thinking, what do I have to do to maintain protection and to avoid this thing? So no.
So we can start with just talking about weekly therapy sessions. And so where I got
Mm-hmm.
this number from was, so I assume somebody that I know that had decent insurance was just paying $30 every week for therapy. Over the course of the month, it's $120, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing to realize is that we get that a lot of people don't even pay for therapy, especially if you're in the UK. You're not even paying for it. Um,
Right.
but that's not even factoring in. So like, and then if you get into the psychiatrist visits, we know that
Mm.
that could go up to, would you say, what?
Psychiatry can be very expensive, especially out of pocket. Like it could be up to like $300, even just for a consultation, depending. Um, and also in the UK, as I understand, they may have to wait a long time to get in. So they will do things out of pocket. Like there's a coach I saw recently who's charging $220 an hour. Um, not even, doesn't even have certifications.
Yeah,
So just on that point.
yeah. So I guess just to reiterate, the whole point of this is because we want people to plug in their own numbers, really take a look at this, see, how living with the phobia is impacting you. I talked to somebody the other day who said, I can't relate to any of this. There's going to be people like that for sure. But then there's also going to be people who are like, wow, I never even thought, yeah, that $10 a month that I'm spending on whatever, this is adding up. Okay. Now what about all this other stuff? So that's really the whole purpose of this exercise to get people thinking. So then if you look at
Can I just make a point?
please do.
So if you have emetophobia, it's very likely you're also living with depression and anxiety. And often, if people aren't comfortable talking about their phobia or they don't know what it is yet, I've talked to 60-year-olds who just found out that it was a thing, for example,
Yeah.
they will still seek help for anxiety, depression, OCD, that's a big one. So they're trying all kinds of interventions, the newest, hippest, hottest pop psychological things on the market, which are proving to not be helpful. Um, so so that's a point too, because you're not, there's a lot of comorbid um, secondary symptoms that come with having emetophobia that need to be taken into account. Maybe
Yeah.
you bought a book on anxiety. Maybe you saw somebody like a hypnotherapist for depression. Maybe you, so that's part of it too.
So those are really good points because now I'm starting to think about the people that I see. I'm sure you see this, right? If you go on social media and look at any emetophobia related thing, you will see tons of people saying, "Wait, this is an actual thing. Wait, this
Mm-hmm.
or I just found out
Mm-hmm.
by this post that I'm not the only person with this." So people think that there's between 10 and 12 million English speaking people with emetophobia. Um, so a lot of people have it. Most people keep it to themselves, which is why we call it the secret phobia, because they go to their doctor and they say I have emetophobia, and the doctor's like, I don't even what is that? Nobody likes it. What are you talking about? Or the therapist says I can't help you. I don't know. So it's no wonder that people keep it to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
so that's a good point. Trying to solve, like trying to buy, all right, I feel like I'm depressed. I'm gonna get a depression book. I feel like this
Mm-hmm.
person said something about mindfulness, so I'm gonna, try meditating and just looking at my thoughts and stuff like. Not to say that that there isn't a place for that stuff, but
Or even yoga thing, uh different, yeah, there's so many different other interventions they may try to cope with or cure the secondary symptoms because they don't even know what it is, and they're constantly, like you said, invalidated. Sometimes they're invalidated even by their closest loved ones, which is really hard for them. I spoke with a girl who's 19 years old and never even told her parents. She
yeah,
didn't know what it was till recently, so she didn't even have a chance to look for help. But yeah, that's a reality.
yeah. So now I'm thinking about, like, imagine the young person, or it doesn't even have to be a young person, it could be anybody, but imagine the person who doesn't want to tell their parents, their guardian, their spouse, whoever about it because they're embarrassed. As a result, maybe they're not eating as much because
Mhm.
a lot of people think the more that
Yeah.
goes in, the more chance there is that something could come out. So now maybe people are thinking they're anorexic, and
Mhm.
it's just a whole unnecessary thing that I don't know. I guess
Right.
trying to shed light on it and trying to get people to understand that, one, you're not the only person with this, and two, we get it. Um,
Yes. I also created a secondary fear, which was just being sick at my stomach, like bowel stuff, irritable bowel stuff as well. So then I was trying to deal with that on top of that. And I know a few other coaches had the same kind of experience where they kept going to doctors,
oh yeah,
running all of the tests, right? Thousands of dollars in America to run all those tests out of, even with insurance to try to figure out, do I have IBS, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis? Like, what's going on? Why am I nauseous all the time? Why am I having, bloating, things like that? So think about all those tests too.
yeah. Only for the doctor to say there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. So here you
Mm.
go. There's a
Right.
disclaimer. This does not include major costs like emergency room visits, things like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But not
Yeah.
even stuff. Just to have, let's say like $1,000 scan, and you want them to just say, "Hey, here's the X-ray or whatever. This is the thing that's wrong." This way,
Mhm.
okay, now we can fix that. But they just say, "There's absolutely nothing wrong with you." You know, um,
Yes.
I've
I,
talked to a
I
lot of
think,
people who, like, I wish somebody would just say, "This is what's wrong. Take this pill or whatever." Um,
yeah. Yeah. Constantly looking for an answer. Yeah, good points. I also wrote down outpatient programs. I've spoken to some people who've been to the best ones, on the East Coast for whatever it was, like especially young people who parents are putting them in for uh, ARFID, eating
yeah,
disorders, things like that. And then also secondary symptom a lot of times can be something like self-harming, borderline personality disorder that because if you have emetophobia, you're going to have low self-esteem. So some of these other things come with that, and those programs can be really costly as well. We didn't put it on there because it's not as prevalent.
yep.
The ones that we wrote are the ones that we hear the most from our clients.
So that all right. So that's a really good point because I had this conversation with two people just in the past couple of days. everybody's going to have something else going on, just like you were saying. If to have emetophobia, you have to have generalized anxiety disorder. You have to have some level of panic disorder. You have to have some level of OCD, even if it's just a tiny, something. And people will think, well, will this help with my BPD? Will this help with my OCD?
Mm.
The beauty is that once you get yourself thriving, all of that stuff is addressed because it's
Yeah.
all stemming from feeling out of control. It's all stemming from the way that you get over emetophobia is by learning to thrive. When you are thriving, you don't have all those other things. So it's not like, all right, we'll help you a little bit with the emetophobia, and then
Mm.
maybe your therapist can help you with the OCD. It's not that. It's
Right.
you you work this and you get over everything and you get yourself thriving. That's literally all it is. Um,
Yeah, great points. I think if you want to say it like think about like a ladder almost like emetophobia is at the top. It's the in a sense it's the most complex. So anxiety and depression are down here. So of course, if you cure the emetophobia, everything underneath it is going to be cured as well,
yeah,
like you
yeah,
said.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
So now how about this is a big one. The cost for safe foods. And the reason that we say, the safe is in quotes is because your brain thinks that they're safe. Your brain thinks that it's protecting you from a real threat, but there isn't. But you might feel, if I eat these foods that I know where they came from, I know that some chef that I don't know what he's doing back there wasn't touching them. I don't know. Maybe he was sick. Maybe, um, can you talk to us about your experience with that, the safe foods?
Yes, definitely trying to think about safe foods, at least for me and a lot of other people who suffered, would be things like things that are going to dissipate in the stomach very, very quickly. So, like, you'll see people eating like icing or ice cream or chocolate bars, things like that, that feel safe. Your stomach doesn't feel full, it doesn't feel bloated. So, some people in particular, especially if they're a little bit more severe on the spectrum, that have created a ton of like avoidance and safety seeking behaviors, have rituals. And sometimes that can be very costly depending on what they're buying, the quality of food, type of food, the amount and when they're getting it. I know for me, for a long time now, I still drink green tea lattes. I love them. I'm always drinking them, but I was living off of them because it felt safe to me just have liquid in my stomach.
Yep.
That going to Starbucks, what is it like $5 or $6 now per drink? A few times I buy 30 times a day because that's what I was doing. That right there is a lot. That's 150 to 200 a month, depending. So there's that. Um, let's
And even
see.
like this, like we don't. Oh, go ahead. You looked like you were going to say something.
Oh, just a subcategory of that is the fact that that's very unhealthy and it's going to cause a lot of malnutrition. That's all. It's just not helpful.
And then we can. I don't think we. I don't think this was part of it. I think, in fact, I was the one who said we don't even really need to spend time there. But I feel like it's still important to say you had brought this up. Not to mention your children watching you with
Mhm.
these habits,
Right.
eating crap all the time. I eat crap,
Yeah.
but not all the time. Um, just something else.
Yeah.
We don't have to go through all of these, but I mean, think about it. The wasted food that's thrown out, what that could add up to a year. And
I
these are conservative numbers, right?
yes. Just to piggyback real quick before you move on, I think what I hear a lot is, oh, I don't tell my children I'm sick. They have no idea how I have this phobia. What you're seeing there with these safe foods, though, is just this really high desire for control. And that's what your children are seeing, and that they are likely going to copy that thinking.
Yes.
Even if it's very minute, they will definitely pick up on that. They'll be like, oh, that's not safe.
Yep.
Mommy never eats that, you know?
Yep. 100%. It's not, you could say anything you want to them. It's not the saying, it's the
Right.
doing action. That's what they're going to
Yes.
pick up on. That's what they're going to copy. And that's how they could end up with a metaphobia.
Mhm.
That is genetic, but they're going to copy everything that you did. Uh,
Very common. Yep.
so Yeah, throwing away food. All right, maybe that chicken's been sitting in there for a day. I gotta throw it out.
Oh, yes.
Wasted.
That's huge.
Yep. Um,
Massive, massive.
paper
Because
towels, things like that.
they won't eat leftovers. Forget it. No way. Even
Yeah.
if it's still fresh. Absolutely not.
Yep. So now imagine it's not just you, but if you're throwing, I don't know, what would you think? Like in your,
So,
they throw the whole family's leftovers, like nobody can eat it, get out of the fridge.
well, yes, that's a great point. So the average American actually throws out 40% of their groceries. That's before emetophobia. So if you have emetophobia, you are scared sometimes of other people being sick.
Yeah.
So great point. You're not going to want them to get sick. I used to do that too. I'd be like, well, it's better safe than sorry. I don't know how long he left this out on the counter for, so I'll just toss it. Maybe he won't notice, things like that. Um, that can get really costly, especially with proteins, which is the big one for emetophobes, like
Yeah.
chicken. Yeah.
So this number is based on one person. Oh, and by the way, it's probably important to note that these numbers are a combination of what Lauren and ChatGPT, nobody's going to know more than Lauren because she actually lived through this. So that with the combination of AI, which we all know is a million times smarter than any of us, is where we got these numbers. And we purposely said, this is copy and pasted from ChatGPT. Purposely said conservative numbers, not
Yeah.
what is the max that people are spending. We want, you know, the very minimum that they might be doing. So this is for one person. So imagine, you have a 3-person family and that might be closer to 90 or $100 just for the month, you know? Um,
Mm.
I mean, just for kicks, imagine. So
Yeah.
30 times 3 people. So now we're at 90 for the month. Now you're spending $1,000 just on wasted food for the year.
I thought of another point that's not on there, and I hope I can just quickly interject this.
Please do.
So, what I hear a lot is, oh, I'm pulling my kid from public school. Now, you might think, oh, that's not a big deal. But the cost of that, because you're so scared, if you have one, two, three, 4 kids, you're so scared that you're homeschooling them. Homeschooling does cost a lot of money.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah,
pay out of pocket for a lot of things. Just a side note.
that's a good, and a lot of people do that. You see it all
Yeah.
the time. If you just look at if you look at people's bios online, it'll say, stay at home,
Mm.
homeschooling, mom or homeschooling teacher, whatever. It's extremely common. So I'm glad you brought that up. So that's good.
Well,
Um,
I signed someone up last night that said that, and I said, well, just ask yourself, is this because of a phobia or because you really want to make that choice?
yeah,
If you actually want to make that choice for your son, that's fine. Go ahead. Be my guest, but don't let it come from this fear.
yeah. So then paper products, bottled water, we don't have to spend a lot of time on that, but here's a huge one for everybody. Everybody has this one in their budget. I shouldn't even call it a budget, in their expense category, in their expense.
Hmm.
Everybody has the mints, the ginger, the gum, whatever it is that they feel safe with.
Yeah.
What did you have? Tell us about that.
I'm just laughing because some Middos are really quirky with those kind of things. I know they always have safety bags, and oh, I thought of one. When you travel, you might have to pay extra because you have so much safety seeking material. Truly, it's heavier. It's just burdensome. You have to, I used to like plan. If I had to travel, it would be like, I have to have this, I have to have this, I have to have this. You pack your own food a lot of the time. I would be like, oh, I'm going to have granola bars because I'm going to a foreign country,
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like that.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there you go. That could be, I don't know, for round numbers. $20 a month. Now you're spending $240 a year just on mints and ginger and gum. There's nothing wrong with enjoying that stuff, but enjoying it and doing it because you feel like you're in danger are two different things. Um,
Hmm.
is an obvious one. Cleaning supplies, boots,
Yeah.
gloves, masks, wipes.
Yeah. For sure.
Um,
Definitely. I didn't even want to share like the same laundry with kids, things like that. So you would have extra special things like hydrogen peroxide or things that you thought would definitely kill those germs.
yeah.
Not
So
to mention the time you spend.
So that goes into this right here, extra water usage. I guarantee you people with the emetophobia are not thinking, I wonder how much extra water I'm paying for every month because I want to wash my hands more times than what the CDC recommends. And by the way, I found out the other day the CDC is only in America. So I said that and they were like, I was like, do you have that in the UK? And they're like, no, they were actually laughing. Um, but
Mm,
yeah, we wash our hands for 20 seconds with warm water when we come in the house because that's what's recommended. But if you're doing it twice every single
mm.
time, these things add up. But I want to talk about this one really quick. I talked to somebody the other day who said their daughter is in school and she was in the other room disinfecting all her books and stuff. So doing that every single day, coming home from school, disinfecting all the books, the backpack, the wipes, stuff like that. Um, and as a parent, of course, we think, we want to pay for this stuff. We're helping them, help them, feel more comfortable, hopefully calm them down, things like that. But the unfortunate truth is that hinders their progress and reinforces the idea that there is something to be afraid of.
Yeah. I just thought of something as you were saying that I hadn't thought of before. Depending on what product you're using, you can actually damage things. I damaged things on accident. So I was, exposed so much in my own home that when I got married, that I started just spraying everything with this product, and I actually caused a lot of rust on my new appliances. Brand new appliances look
Yeah.
like they've been in there 50 years, but my faucets, okay, my brand new faucets look super corroded. They look all like turquoise and just
Yeah.
nasty now. And it's not that easy to replace something like that. And I was like so frustrated. Why did I do that?
Yeah.
So damaging things,
Yep.
school
You
books.
like all this stuff. You think you're doing the right thing in the moment, or otherwise you wouldn't be doing it. Um, not so sure about this one. Again, this is with some of the help of Chat GPT. I don't know. Is this somebody that people are actually
Can
doing
you
air
can
purifiers,
you say what it is?
air purifiers and filters?
Uh, yes, absolutely. Great point. I did purchase something like that when my stepson moved in. Same thing. Um, Big, huge thing. It was like $200. I have them because I like them and not for that reason, not out of fear of getting sick, just general. But great point.
So I
Yeah.
here's an example I use with a lot of clients. So things like that. So like you were just like, I still like it. There's nothing wrong with that. Using it for a
Mm,
different reason. I tell people, you have to realize. So you using it is a sensible thing to do.
yeah.
There's sensible, and then there's avoidance, can't cope, have to do this. And so I tell people, if you're once you overcome this, if your stomach's rumbling and you have somewhere to go, you can take something. You can take Pepto-Bismol. That's a sensible thing to do. You need to realize the reason these companies exist is because the massive market, the entire world, who would prefer to not have their stomach feel gross. They don't make these things because 4% of people have emetophobia. The sensible thing is, I don't want to feel like this. I'm going to take something. That's not
Mhm.
panicking or anything like that. But having emetophobia and being a black and white thinker, they think, no, to overcome this, to me, that means can't have a thought about it, have to love
Right.
it, can never
Right.
have a mint again, can't take Pepto Bismol. And
Mhm.
that's just not true. You just have to get
Yep.
to where everybody else is thinking. Gross, would rather it doesn't happen. If it happens, I'll figure it out. That's it.
Yeah. 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 A lot of the middos really don't like that anticipatory anxiety that they create with the nausea. So Zofran should definitely be on there. I don't
Yes.
remember how much it costs, but uh, Dramamine, antihistamines, over the counter products, same thing. It's just constantly. But yeah, that was a great point
Yeah.
because that black and white perfectionist thinking is like, oh, I absolutely should never have a thought like this ever again.
Right.
Just like, or a little bit of uncomfortable feeling if I'm nauseous or my stomach is hurting, like legitimately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with cold medicine. They make this because we as humans would prefer to not feel like crap.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong
Also,
with
I
it.
don't want to suffer.
This is a good
Yeah.
one. Let's talk about this one. Missing work.
Oh, yeah. most of the reason people,
home
when
or
they come to us, say, oh, this costs so much is because they're not able to, or they perceive that they're not able to work right now, or they've gotten let go, or they left their job because they've just created so much anxiety. And I can absolutely speak to that for sure.
yeah,
Um, I was never fired, but I did leave a lot of positions, really good positions, because I couldn't tolerate, I couldn't deal with the emotions that I was generating. I would have to just keep going home or leaving suddenly. And I was in charge of like running stores and things.
yeah.
So, man, that's huge. That could be an entire year's salary right there.
So now that ties into this one, extra transportation, because you're using your gas or petrol, as the UK people call it, right? Every time you're driving around. Um, and not
Mm,
to mention, I'm trying. We didn't want to do. We wanted to focus on the quantifiable things, but have to mention the, let's say, the promotions that maybe you pass up because it would entail you traveling. You have to go on an airplane. You have to be in a hotel. I don't know who was in that bed, passing up on all those things because you want to avoid being sick. You know,
right?
so that
Yes.
for somebody that might be $10,000 or an extra 8,000 pounds a year, whatever it may be. No, I'd rather, not that I'd rather, that's not the right way to put it. But what some people are doing is spending more money to avoid when they can get over this. We see it happen every single week. The latest stats that Lauren had just shared with me was that 27,000 people overcame it by now, right?
Mm, yeah.
So there's so much more. You can get those promotions. You can do things like that.
Can I
Sorry,
just mention
please go
the
ahead.
travel hotel thing? Like
Yeah,
this definitely affected me and it affects my clients. They will literally purchase an entire hotel room or Airbnb or whatever it is, the entire, if they can travel, if they have to travel, they will buy extra rooms because they don't like how close the bathroom is because of social anxiety or what if somebody else is sick. That being in a hotel is very difficult. And if you think $200-300 for one night, that's huge. One work trip would qualify for going through the Thrive program right there.
yeah. Okay, that's a good one. Um, this one, this ties right into what we had mentioned before. Everybody, had tried everything. I know I had all kinds of anxiety books, meditation books, mindfulness books, CBT books, ACT books, all
Mhm.
kinds of whatever apps. Um,
Uh, right. Kindle, I'm sorry,
books. Yeah.
Audible. You could pay to go to events, things like that. Yeah.
Yep. So again, I mean, this is a very conservative number, $15 for, and not to say that those things don't work. They're not going to work for getting you over emetophobia, but if you have some anxiety, you'll feel a bit better. Um, but again, I have to say, you know, this program is based on hundreds of research papers and 35 years of clinical experience. It is the only thing that has been proven and to be predictable to get people over this. And we always invite people to read the research for yourselves. It's on emetophobia. Is it? I think it's just emetophobia.co is the website. Whatever. We want people to come to their own conclusions um, about whether this is the right thing for them.
Yeah, seeing it in black and white like this is just, it's alarming. It's very, and again, being conservative, it's crazy how much it costs to keep it
Yeah.
financially and emotionally. And I mean, just think about like, I have so many clients that are like, I want to become a nurse. I want to become a med tech. I want to, whatever
Yeah.
it is. And wow, I mean, you could be making twice the salary and do the thing that you love every day. But this thing is holding you back, or you
Yeah.
perceive that it is.
Yeah. So I think we've beaten this horse to death, but look at, this is what we want to look at. That's a huge number. And people don't realize that. And if you're looking at that number being like, there's no way, okay, cut it in half. Cut that in half. Again, it's still more than paying a one-time investment, because it is an investment in yourself to overcome it. Pays for itself in a couple of months. You never have to think about emetophobia again. And then you can think of it as you're saving that much money every year. Because I've never met somebody who's had emetophobia for 1 year. I think on average, people have had it between, what the heck does he say? Rob says between 20 and 30 years.
Well, most onset around third grade, 8 or 9 years old. So yeah.
Let's say for a random number, 10. Let's say you've had it for 10 years. You might have spent that much so far on it.
Yeah.
So again, we want to get you guys thinking, what could you have done with this money instead? A lot is, I guess, the probably the best answer. And it's, we want you to take away from this like okay, wow, that puts things into perspective. Maybe it's time to make a change. It's not about beating yourself up. Um, you were doing all the things that you thought were right. But we see it every single day. Lauren lived it. And the fact is that people are paying a high price to have their phobia, to keep their phobia. They're paying to keep their phobia.
Yeah. I think if I had seen this before I'd known anything, I would have just thought about all the failed attempts to get help before, and I would have been really skeptical. But, because you just keep thinking, oh, I tried this, I tried this, I tried this. But our program is so different, and you can get coaches who have been studying this for years. They understand it, they've lived it. What we have is it's just revolutionary. And so when you're thinking about signing up, please don't put the Thrive program in the same category as EMDR or all those other interventions. It's completely different. And please just give coach the time to have an introductory chat to explain the full value, because we don't have time right now to explain the full value and the benefits and the outcomes in all the domains of your life. Not just, think about it. You're not going to have anxiety. You're not going to have panic attacks. You're not going to have depression anymore. Your self-esteem is going to go up. Your relationships are going to get better. It's like all these wonderful outcomes. And like we said, it's a once and done thing. It's not, you don't have to keep going back. You don't have to drive to a therapist every week. It's just, that's it. You've got the skills. Yeah. Forever.
Yeah. And that's why the company is called Thrive. When you are thriving, when you feel great every day, you feel great in all areas. Oh, and by the way, you also don't have emetophobia anymore. You won't have depression.
Right.
But it carries over to all that. Okay, now I can go for that promotion. Now I can have kids, because if morning sickness happens, it's fine. Now I can travel the world with my partner. So it is so much more than just, I know everybody say, yeah, I don't care, I want to get over the phobia. Yeah, that happens. But it only happens when you're thriving in life and when you're feeling great in all those other domains. So I don't have anything else to add, I don't think.
Yeah. I think those are definitely conservative numbers, and it just count the cost of maintaining it, keeping it in your life is just, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And like you said, the program works. Work through it with a coach. It's going to change your life. So yeah, that's it.
And it all just starts with a quick conversation. So if you're finding this interesting, if you think that you might be in the spot to give this a go and do it, because you have to. We can't drag people through it. It just doesn't work like that. If you're ready to put the work in, you will overcome it. You will not be
Yeah.
the person that can't overcome it does not exist in this world unless you just don't do anything. Nobody's too complex. There's nothing scary about it. It all starts with a conversation with Lauren and myself, and that's it. So
And no exposure therapy.
yes, there's no exposure because it doesn't work for this.
That's right. Yeah.
So, well, we wish you all the best, and I guess until the next time. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks. Oh my goodness. I felt like so off my game, and I don't know why.